Right. Ready to dive into a world where gravity is, well, optional. We're talking flat Earth theory.
It's a fascinating one for
It
sure.
really is. Even with, all the evidence for a spherical Earth, this idea just keeps going.
It's not just about a lack of scientific understanding, though. It's deeper than that. It makes you wonder about, like, the sociology and the psychology behind it.
Yeah. Why this theory? Why now? That's what we're going to unpack today. But first, let's paint a picture of what flat earthers actually believe.
Right.
Our source describes their model as basically um, a giant flat disk.
Like a cosmic dinner plate?
Exactly. With an ice wall around it.
Oh, and the sun and moon. Tiny. Like 51 kilometers across, just floating around above us.
So wait, clouds could be higher than the moon in this model.
That's what they're saying.
There we
It
go.
definitely makes the universe feel a bit more compact.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, right? Like, historically, believing in a flat earth wasn't that crazy. I mean, look out your window, seems pretty flat.
Makes sense. Without, satellites and all that, it's the most obvious explanation.
Totally. Even geniuses like, what, Pythagoras? Aristotle? Started out thinking the earth was flat.
They did.
It took over 2,000 years for the spherical earth idea to, like, win out.
Yeah.
Because it was wild that flat earth is making a comeback now.
And a lot of it seems to be tied to a distrust of, well, anything official, science, governments, the whole shebang.
Yeah, and you see that in their arguments. Like, they'll point to, say, no flights over the South Pole as proof it's not a real place, just a giant ice wall.
Right, or they'll say all those satellite images are fake, part of some grand conspiracy.
It's like they've got this secret decoder ring, and suddenly everything, from clouds behind the moon to the UN emblem, is proof they're right.
The UN emblem.
Yeah, the continent's all circled. They say that's the flat Earth inside the ice wall.
Huh. Well, it shows how strongly belief can shape what you see, turning the ordinary into, like, hidden messages.
For sure. And speaking of hidden messages, our source mentions some pretty wealthy people are funding their own space missions to try and prove the Earth is flat.
Wow.
Like DIY rockets, trying to reach the edge of the world.
It's almost like, I don't know, a quest for El Dorado or something.
Exactly. It's both kind of funny and a little concerning.
Yeah, you gotta admire the dedication, I guess, but it also shows how deeply people can get caught up in these beliefs even when, well, all the evidence points the other way.
All right, so we've got this picture of a flat Earth surrounded by an ice wall.
Yeah.
But what's beyond that? What do flat earthers think is out there?
It's a mix of, like, science fiction and ancient myths, lost civilizations, maybe portals to other dimensions, who knows?
So imagine peering over that ice wall and finding, like, a world untouched by time.
Dinosaurs roaming around.
Exactly, where the laws of physics are, let's just say, flexible.
It's tempting to get swept up in it, right? But let's bring it back down to Earth, literally. Because there are some pretty big scientific concepts that flat Earth theory, well, ignores.
Right. The big one being gravity. Like, they don't buy it.
Nope. Instead, they think the Earth is constantly moving upwards, which creates the feeling of gravity. Like being in an elevator going up, up, up.
But wouldn't that mean we'd be traveling faster than the speed of light at some point?
Exactly. And the amount of energy to pull that off, forget about it. It just doesn't work with our understanding of physics.
Right. It's like saying, I don't believe in air, but I'm still breathing. It's rejecting a fundamental force of the universe.
And that rejection extends to other things, too. Like they'll say the horizon looks flat, so the Earth must be flat.
Yeah, but anyone who's been to the beach knows the horizon looks flat. It's just a matter of perspective.
Exactly. If you were an ant on a basketball, the surface would look flat to you, too.
So their argument is basically, if I can't see it, it can't be true.
Pretty much. They mistake our limited human perception for absolute truth.
And it's not just about science either. They see conspiracies everywhere.
Right. Like those clouds behind the moon. They see that as proof the moon is way closer than we think, because clouds couldn't possibly be higher than the moon.
But that ignores, like, basic optics, right? Like, things can appear behind each other even if they're at different distances.
Exactly. It's like those forced perspective photos where someone's pretending to hold up the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
It's an illusion.
And on that note, how about the whole satellite images are fake thing?
Oh yeah, they love that one. Governments faking all those beautiful pictures of Earth from space just to keep us in the dark.
It's a pretty common theme in conspiracy theories, right? Attributing incredible power and deception to these shadowy figures.
It's like saying they're controlling everything, even the stars.
And it's tempting to dismiss it as harmless, but believing these kinds of things can have real-world consequences.
Absolutely. Like, it can affect how people vote, what they believe about health and science, even how they interact with others.
It's a reminder that just because something's popular on the internet doesn't make it true. We need to be careful about the information we consume and always think critically about what we're being told.
Right, don't just believe everything you read, especially if it sounds too good or too crazy to be true.
Exactly. Question everything, especially your own assumptions.
So, even though we're talking about a theory that most scientists would say is, well, completely wrong, it raises some important questions about belief, skepticism, and the nature of truth itself.
It does, and it highlights how important it is to engage with different perspectives, even if they challenge our own.
And to always, always keep learning and questioning.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've laid out the basics of flat Earth theory and pointed out some of its, shall we say, inconsistencies.
Right, but we're just getting started.
Exactly. There's a lot more to unpack here. We haven't even touched on the history of this idea or the psychological factors that might draw people to it.
It's a fascinating puzzle, and we're going to piece it all together right here on this deep dive into flat Earth theory.
Stay tuned.
You're probably familiar with the common flat Earth claims about the lack of South Pole flights or clouds behind the moon. But let's delve deeper into why these arguments are flawed, considering the principles of perspective, scale, and atmospheric optics.
Good point. Because even if we entertain the idea of a flat Earth for a second, the sheer scale of it would still be immense.
Exactly. Even if it were flat, its surface area would be vast. Simply not seeing flights over the South Pole doesn't prove anything about its shape.
It's kind of funny, right? Like they're imagining this massive conspiracy to hide the truth about the South Pole, no flights allowed.
It also highlights a common misconception about the scale of the Earth.
It's both amusing and concerning. Amusing because it speaks to a level of dedication that borders on the absurd and concerning, because it demonstrates the lengths to which people will go to confirm their beliefs, even when those beliefs are demonstrably false.
It's a reminder that access to information doesn't always equate to understanding. You can have all the data in the world at your fingertips, but if you're starting from a place of flawed assumptions and biases, you're likely to misinterpret that data.
So true. And it's not just the South Pole thing. They'll point to things like, pictures of the Earth from space and say, those are fake.
It's akin to trying to debate the existence of dark matter with someone who only believes what they can see with their naked eye. There's a fundamental disconnect in the frameworks of understanding.
Like they think governments or whoever are just like photoshopping these perfect round Earths to fool everyone.
Right.
But wouldn't it be way harder to fake all that evidence than to just, accept that the Earth is round?
It probably would be. But again, it comes back to that deep mistrust of authority. It's like they can't accept anything they're told, especially if it comes from, official sources.
Okay, let's tackle another big one, gravity. How do they explain that if the Earth is flat?
This idea stems from a misunderstanding of inertia and frames of reference. They believe that instead of gravity pulling us down, the Earth is constantly pushing us upward, creating the sensation of weight.
Wait, so they think we're constantly being, accelerated upwards?
Exactly. It's like that feeling you get when an elevator starts going up really fast.
Right, but wouldn't we feel that? And wouldn't we eventually reach, impossible speeds?
Yeah, there are some definite holes in that logic, but it's a way for them to, reconcile the idea of a flat Earth with the fact that we experience gravity.
It's a fascinating mental gymnastics for sure.
It is, and it shows how creative people can get when they're trying to make their worldview fit the evidence, even if that evidence is, a little shaky.
Okay, we've looked at their model, but how did this idea even come about? Let's take a quick trip back in time to see how flat Earth beliefs have evolved.
Well, for a long time, believing in a flat Earth was the norm.
Right, way back when, before we had all the tools and knowledge to, figure out the shape of the Earth.
Exactly. I mean, if you just look around, it does seem flat.
Plus, there wasn't really any way to prove otherwise back then.
And even when early scientists started proposing a spherical Earth, it took a while for that idea to catch on.
Makes sense. It's a pretty big shift in thinking.
It is. And it wasn't until we had things like, ships sailing around the world and eventually space travel that the spherical Earth model became irrefutable.
So this modern resurgence of flat Earth belief is kind of like a step backwards almost.
It is, in a way. But it's also a reminder that, scientific knowledge is always evolving, and sometimes old ideas can resurface, especially in a world where information spreads so quickly and easily.
And where there's so much distrust of, well, anything mainstream.
That's a big part of it, for sure.
Okay, so we've talked about the historical context, but what about the psychology behind this? What makes people drawn to these kinds of beliefs?
Well, research suggests that a lot of it has to do with, A need for certainty. People want simple explanations for complex things, and the world can be a pretty chaotic and confusing place sometimes.
Right, so a flat Earth model kind of simplifies things, makes it
Yeah.
easier to understand.
Exactly. It gives people a sense of order, a sense of control, and it can also make them feel like they're in the know, like they have access to secret knowledge that the rest of the world is missing out on.
Like they're part of a special group, a select few who have figured it all out.
It's a powerful feeling, and it can be hard to let go of, even when presented with evidence to the contrary.
So it's not just about science or lack thereof. It's also about psychology, sociology, and how people interact with information in this, digital age.
Absolutely. It's a complex issue with multiple layers, and it requires a nuanced approach to understand it fully.
Okay, so we've delved into the history, the science, and the psychology. But I'm still curious about this idea of, what lies beyond the ice wall.
Ah, yes. The great unknown.
Exactly. Flat earthers have some pretty wild theories about that.
They do. Some believe it's where, lost civilizations exist. Others think it's a portal to other dimensions or even parallel universes.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It is. And it speaks to that human desire to explore, to push the boundaries of what we know.
To imagine what might be out there beyond the edge of the map.
And while their ideas might be a bit far-fetched, I think there's something to be said for that sense of wonder, that curiosity about the unknown.
I agree. It's what drives us to discover new things, to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And even though we might not find any hidden civilizations beyond the South Pole, there's still so much out there in the universe waiting to be explored.
So even though we've been, debunking the myths of flat earth theory, it sparks some interesting conversations about the nature of belief, the role of skepticism, and the importance of always keeping an open mind.
That's a great takeaway. And it's a reminder that even the most seemingly outlandish ideas can offer valuable insights into the human condition.
I like that. So maybe flat earth theory isn't so much about the shape of the earth as it is about the shape of our minds, the way we think and process information.
That's a good way to put it. It's a reflection of our hopes, our fears, our desire for certainty in an uncertain world.
And it shows how important it is to be critical thinkers, to question everything, and to always be willing to learn and grow.
Couldn't agree more. After all, the journey of knowledge is a never-ending one.
It seems like part of the appeal of flat earth theory is this urge to challenge what we're told to believe.
It's definitely got that rebellious streak.
Right. Like rejecting the official narrative and all that.
Yeah, taking back control in a world where it feels like a lot of things are, out of our hands.
And the internet has definitely played a role in spreading these alternative viewpoints.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a breeding ground for ideas that, well, don't always line up with mainstream science.
So how do we navigate this landscape where truth and falsehood are so intertwined? How do we even talk to people who hold these beliefs?
It's tough. But I think empathy is key. Like trying to understand where they're coming from.
Instead of just writing them off as crazy?
Right. Trying to see the world through their eyes, even if we don't agree with their conclusions.
Because everyone's entitled to their own opinion,
Right.
but not their own facts.
Exactly. And maybe by having those conversations, by presenting evidence in a way that's, clear and respectful, we can start to bridge that gap.
It's not about winning an argument or anything.
No, it's about encouraging critical thinking.
And open-mindedness.
Absolutely. Recognizing that even beliefs that seem, way out there can teach us something.
Yeah, they can make us question our own assumptions.
Exactly.
So even though we might laugh at the idea of a flat earth,
Right?
it does reflect this deeper human need to understand the world around us.
It does. This desire to make sense of things.
And that desire, that curiosity, is ultimately what drives us forward.
It's what pushes scientific progress.
So even if we've debunked the myths, flat earth theory has gotten us thinking about belief, skepticism, and the importance of engaging with different perspectives.
And that's valuable in itself.
It is. It reminds us that the world is full of different viewpoints, and that's okay.
It is. And maybe, just maybe, through open dialogue and respectful debate, we can find some common ground.
And come to a better understanding of the world and of each other.
Well said. And remember, listeners, the quest for knowledge never ends. Stay curious.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into flat earth theory. Until next time, keep those minds open.